Hey, ever wonder how you can bridge the gap between wealth and spirituality? Do you think you have to sell your Ferrari to be Zen? In this episode, you will learn how financial therapist Dan Harrison helps soul-driven entrepreneurs build highly profitable online businesses without getting caught up in the hustle and instead creating a sacred economy. Hello and welcome to the Freedom Seeker Show, the talk show that covers unfiltered conversations that matter to women. And this is a very special episode. Oh yes, we are talking about my favorite obsessions, money and spirituality, with our guest and the first man brave enough to join the conversation on the Freedom Seeker Show, Dan Harrison. Applause! Dan is a CFP, a financial therapist, and a business coach who helps health coaches and wellness practitioners build highly profitable online businesses without the stress of the inconsistency in income and tech overwhelm. He's also the co-founder of SoGo, an event and membership company that supports and inspires entrepreneurs to use their businesses as a force for good. He works remotely and lives in Kelowna with his wife and newborn daughter, and when he isn't working or spending time with his family, you can find him playing hockey, snowboarding, meditating, or doing men's work as the leader with the Samurai Brotherhood. Let's do this. I love that. Financial therapist.
Yeah. And basically it's like I've been a planner since forever, certified financial planner, but I found that when you're doing planning and you're just looking at the numbers, it's like you're only living in that one world, right? And so, and then the results that you get by only living in one world are super limited, as opposed to like an infinite and limitless possibilities that you could create. When you only do plans, it's a very limited, results that you can get. And then I know this to be true because of my own life. And like, the only reason I'm in finances is because my own finances were really crappy. And then I'm like in finances trying to figure out my own. And the things that made like the big levers, like the big changes, there's like the things that move the big wheels behind the curtain of time and space, was like all of the personal development, the therapy, the understanding of my beliefs, meditation practices, affirmations, inner image, childhood, like my inner child stuff, like all of that stuff is what transformed my finances. Yeah. Not an RRSP or a savings account. Right. So to me, it's like now the work that I do with people is I use people's finances to identify the inner issues, and now I can, when people show me their finances, I can tell them things about themselves that they probably don't even like know.
That is super cool. Probably super freaky too.
Yeah, it can be. It totally is. Yeah. But
how did you know that? Well,
yeah. Because I've sat with thousands of clients now, and so you start to see similar patterns, and you're like, okay, so humans behave this way, or if you have this belief, this will probably show up in your balance sheet, and it starts to, you're able to identify things quicker, and then it might be freaky, but that's where. Like if people are actually serious about changing their results, then they have to do the freaky thing.
Yeah.
And they have to be seen, they have to be vulnerable. And then those are the people that I love working with, because we can actually do magic. But people who tend to have fear around money, or like, I don't want to, and that gets in the way, then the results are very difficult to change. Yeah.
100%, because they're going to repeat their patterns, right?
Yep, yeah, exactly.
But we don't repair. I totally read you on that. So I love, and I think that's what's always drawn me to your work is I love how you bring the Zen
Hmm.
back into a topic that is so freakishly like unavailable for most of us. Like, I mean, they're really two opposites sides of the spectrum, right? But you
Totally.
found a way to bridge it, and I think that is so cool.
Mm.
Not only that you have been able to do that, and we'll get into it a little bit more on how you did that, but also that you are embracing it with so much of just dampness, just the way you are, right? And that will naturally attract the people that you want to work with into your practice. So
Totally.
there is a huge component of philanthropy in your practice,
Mhm.
which is, I don't know if it is still the key piece. We haven't talked in a while, but
Mhm.
um, that is something I'm very interested about. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because um, I'm doing a lot of research and reading a lot of books for my book
Nice.
right now, and it all is around that topic of sacred economy. Like how to change our money mindset
Mhm.
and make it what it was originally intended to be, rather than what it has become.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit, Dan? How does that tie in for you? How does that evolve in your
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. That's my favorite thing to talk about. Um,
I had a feeling.
yeah. um, yeah, because like when people ask me like, what am I doing or what's my purpose? It's like what I'm connected to is like uh, all I really want to do is inspire a more generous world. Maybe a more generous, free, and just world, but generous for sure.
Yeah.
And and like I get out of bed and I get moved by the idea of like there's 7 billion people on the planet, and imagine that we were all just 5% more generous. Like what could happen?
Yeah.
And so to me, everything that I'm doing has that as a like why I'm doing anything. And um, and the reason that that's so important to me is just like my own personal story was when I was younger, and I found myself in a ton of debt, like $500,000 of debt, really struggling with finances. I'm 21. I know nothing about money. I'm like, yeah, made a couple bonehead business moves, and all of a sudden I'm like stuck in a bunch of debt. And I believe that it's directly proportionate to how greedy I was, and like my thinking.
Yeah.
All I was trying to do was try to get, get, get. I think that the debt-based economy perpetuates greed in a lot of ways. Um, and and my mindset was all about, I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna get money, because if I get money, then I can have all these other things in life. And then I was lucky enough. I've always been seeking for mentors and coaches, and I had a really great mentor who taught me about giving and philanthropy. Um, and I was immersed inside a culture of giving where we went to charities and we gave money and we raised money, and I slowly, over about 4 year period, my paradigm shifted from one that was always trying to get to one that became obsessed with giving. And that actually has a negative, like if you are only giving, there's that doesn't work either. So there's like a balance between the two.
Yeah.
But and I don't know if I fully believe in altruism, because giving is one of the most selfish things that I do, in that there's fewer things in life that make me feel so good.
Mhm.
And so it's why whenever somebody wants to connect with me, I donate $25 to their charity. No questions asked if they want to work with me or not. I just give $25 to your charity. I'm right now working on, so Harrison Financial Group is one of my companies. I have Dan Harrison Consulting, which is financial therapy and planning. Harrison Financial Group, which sells financial products. And then I'm a co-founder of SOGO, which is stands for social good. And we do coaching and mentorship for entrepreneurs, helping them infuse doing social good into their business.
Yeah.
And right now I'm with Harrison Financial Group. I've simplified it. It's all online. And it's a space where people can buy investment products and insurance products, and simply and online. Right now, I'm going through a process of restructuring that company to be able to donate 50% of all revenues, all profits, to charity.
Right.
And if I can figure out how to do that and like have the company run and still be profitable, that to me is like just could be huge. So yeah, and then it's like, and then work has more meaning and more like, if you're just like trying to work for yourself, like to try and get rich, it's like it doesn't have a lot of power. But yeah.
Well, it doesn't, because it's never enough, right?
Right.
We don't have. It's like, to use the analogy of eating your favorite cake. You know, you can eat as much as you want, but there comes a point where it's just like, okay, now what? Like,
yeah,
it loses its flavor.
Yep, totally. Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah. So I really, really support what it is you're doing, and what I think I treasure the most right now of what you said is, or what I heard anyways, is that I don't have it all figured out yet, but I feel good about where the direction this is going, and I think that is such a fundamental piece to whatever we're creating, right? I think I've learned, growing up, I've learned that I have to have it all figured out before I can, call myself whatever. But really the truth is, it's in sharing the journey and just going for it, and following. I just finished an interview actually, and we talked about that creative process right there. Following the intuitiveness around how does that make me feel. And I loved that you identified that so intently. Is there was this feeling of always wanting to get like more, which is also very age driven too. Like, I mean, when we're younger, even in childhood, you observe that as kids get older, it becomes more about them, and like, make it about me first. And then there comes this point in our lives where we're standing at that crossroads, and we get to choose which road we're going to take. And it sounds like you've chosen to take the road that makes you feel like it's in alignment with who you are and who you want to become. And totally. I completely agree with you that is, it's successful already.
Yeah.
Because you're fulfilled, and that's essentially what I think entrepreneurship should be about.
Yeah.
Is figure out what fills your cup, right? What makes you full.
Yeah.
So how do your clients, do you think clients come to you because of that first and foremost, or do you think they come to you because they want their money situation to change? They have identified a need within their money situation, and then as they're working with you, they're discovering that there's just so much more.
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like for most, well, I get the people that I find myself working with more often now is I would put them into two camps. So there is the entrepreneurs, and then couples. And for the most part, there is an issue but they might not have identified it yet, or or can articulate it, but they're like, I know something's off. For entrepreneurs, often it's around like, why is my business so up and down, and why can't I get more clients and have more consistent flow? And so and then because of the inconsistencies of their income, it's very difficult to plan or create any kind of financial future. So entrepreneurs have got like their own set of things and issues. And very much so is like, so they'll come to me and they're like, I think this is my issue. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But the reason that it's inconsistent is because probably you're inconsistent. Like there's inconsistencies in the way that you show up, and the business becomes like a magnifying glass for the human. So that's entrepreneurs. And then couples, which I really enjoy working with, is often, so for the most part, none of us have ever really sifted through our relationship, our programming, our conditions, our history around money and our money story. Yet we've all been programmed, and it's often intergenerational. So now you've got two people who have a blind, like basically a blindfold around why they do the money thing the way they do. Yeah. And then they come together and they try to merge that with each other. And it's like the blind leading the blind, and fights ensue. And I, like, for me and my wife, it was the same thing. We're like, why do you spend money that way? Why do you save money? And so, I created a course in conscious wealth, but I built that course like for us as a couple.
Yeah.
And that's like, here's the conversations we got to have if we're ever going to get on the same page with our money. So those are the two people that tend to find me. And then usually, to further clarify, it's like usually those people who have some sort of a spiritual practice and are finally like, what? There's a guy who's willing to talk about money, but also like totally gets my spiritual practice. Okay. Yeah. Let's go chat with him. So that's
a big disconnect, isn't it? People seem to think just because they have a spiritual practice, they're not allowed to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes think about my friends who had hobbies or like passions, like fixing cars, or like really just like physical, and you're like, yeah, I fix cars, and it's like tangible. And for whatever reason, since I was like a really young kid, like maybe 17, 18, the two things that I have been most interested in since forever is like my existential crisis, or like spirituality. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Understanding like religion, spirit, consciousness, all of that.
Yeah.
And then money. And then learning about both of those for so long. And now you start to see like the parallels or how they work together. And that has become my work is what seeming opposites, how do you actually have a relationship with both that is in alignment? And
so do you have without giving away, and I'm sure it's not possible to give away in the short time that we have, but what do you think is the answer to that? Like, how can you make both work?
Yeah, it's something that I will like probably continue to spend the rest of my life figuring out, because I don't claim to have all the answers, but I have found I have been able to figure out how to create a certain level of freedom in my life around finances, and a deeply connected internal world with spirit, and so for me to how it works or is I guess you could simplify it down to one thought or one idea, in that our outer world is nothing more than an expression or a manifestation of the internal vision that we hold in our mind. And in today's day and age, with like distractions, you were talking about your Fitbit and like everything is pulling for your attention. And so by being able to develop an awareness, like a consciousness, to be able to observe your thoughts through meditation, and then be able to kind of identify thoughts that you don't want in there and plant new thoughts in, and then develop some sort of practice that allows you to create an inner sanctuary, an inner like kingdom that almost can become more real than the external world. And when you can like focus and experience more of your life on this internal kingdom sanctuary, then you begin to experience that out here. And so it's like very simply, thoughts become things. And then that's those are the two worlds.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
And then for me, what that tangibly looks like is every morning. Recently, I've been getting up at 5 a.m. every morning, which is new, but with the baby, and I don't know, that's my new sleep pattern. And I wake up, and what I've built is it's a mind movie. And so it's a 20-minute, basically it's a PowerPoint that starts off with a little meditation, then a vision board, and then it's like the story of Dan Harrison, past, present, and future.
Yes.
And it's got music in the background, and I've screen recorded it, and I voice over myself, like telling the story of Dan Harrison. And then it's affirmations, and it takes 20 minutes, and I listen to this thing every day.
It's like 50 First Dates. You remember that movie, 50 First Dates?
I know, I do.
And how he created that movie for her, so every day, like in the morning, she watches it, so that she gets caught up to where she's at.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
I love it. What a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that is and then the coolest thing starts to happen, like almost every day for the last week or so. For example, in my vision board is a picture of a aeronautique. It's a blue aeronautique with a wood grain. It's beautiful, beautiful boat. And so that's something that I'm manifesting. And we get a random call from a friend of a friend who's like, hey, our parents are going to be out of town, and they have a new dog. Would you be able to dog sit? So we're like, for a week. We're like, okay, sure. And so they have this beautiful mansion, and they're like, can you, so we go over there, and it like walk outside, and it's not even just like similar, the exact same boat, wood grain, blue panel, like exactly. And so, and it doesn't mean like, so I haven't manifested that yet, but to me, it's like, it's the universe's way of being like, yes,
it's
coming.
Yeah.
Yes, you're closer. It's always there. Your awareness has been lacking, and it's on its way. Yeah.
What a beautiful example of what you described around like manifesting or living in the inner and outer world, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Love that. Oh my God. Like I seriously have like, I'm itching because I have goosebumps going all the way down my back right now. It's just, and it's not because I'm sitting in a vault.
Yeah.
And how ironic is that, right? Like I'm sitting in a vault.
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
Having a conversation around money.
Yeah.
So Dan, what would be something you could tell, or what you could share with, let's not tell, let's share, with our viewers, the one thing that if someone came to you right now and said like, Dan, okay, something needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to change. Where would you start? What would be the first thing you would say? You know what? I don't have a lot of time right now, but here's something I can tell you that's really made a difference in my life, and start there.
Yeah, interesting. Because often when people come to me with that question, like something needs to change, I know that what they're talking, or like usually it's around money or their business. And so what they're really saying is like, okay, I need more money. Or like is like kind of what they're actually saying, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, if that's true, right? If that's the thing that needs to change, then there is a science to it. There is like a practical application and science to making more money, and um, it's nothing new. Like, people have done it and people have learned it. I There's a program. One of my mentors, I worked with him for 4 years, was Bob Proctor, and he has a program with a bunch of other really great mentors called The Science of Getting Rich, and that's part of it. It's like there's so I would say that there's three things. If that is usually the main problem, right? Something's got to change. Okay, what you really mean is you want more money. So then the three things is like, you need a mindset shift, and that's really around like The Science of Getting Rich would be a good program to look at, or meditation. I'd say those two things, because one is an external thing, like, okay, I'm going to get it from the outside, but you already have, like, if you meditate, then there's an awareness there. You can
already
connect.
have a connection.
Yeah, you can, but depends on, where you're at. So external one or an internal one.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is like an understanding of how money is created. Right now, most people believe that money is created by, or not even created. Most people believe that they must trade their most valuable, precious resource in exchange for money, which is time. And if people truly grasp this one fact, that like literally your time is so precious. It is, we live like we're not going to die, but we're all going to die. And if you can grasp that, then you would start to change the way that you exchange that for money. And the people who can create wealth have discovered that they can, instead of trading their time for money, they can provide value, and they can solve problems. And the bigger the problem that you can solve with your skills, with your connections, with your awareness, with your spot in life, the bigger problems that you can identify and help solve, the more money you can make. And so it's a shift in thinking around how you make money. And then and then the last part would be like, okay, what are the structures that I would need to make all of that happen? Because money is actually really simple. Only three things you need to figure out. It's how to make it or attract it, how to keep it, and how to grow it. That's it. So you figure out those three things, money is no longer an issue for you. Well, I mean, it might be, but it'll be bigger or different problems. And so that's usually, they're like, something needs to change. I'm like, okay. I'd probably have to dig a little deeper, but it would be something around that, like mindset, changing the way that you earn it, and then putting proper systems in place.
So is that what your course is about?
Yeah. So my course is really about two things. It is to help people transform their relationship with money, and well, really their relationship with money, themselves, and others. And so, it's kind of how you do anything is how you do everything. So the way that you manage your money probably shows up in your relationships and your health and in other spots. So that's the first thing, is it's a transformation of your relationship with money. And then secondly, is it empowers you to be your own financial advisor. For most people, like, you don't have to pay 2-3% in fees on your investments if you just learn like some of the basics that, and most people have been, the system is set up in such a way that you don't learn it. You don't learn it.
There's a reason for that.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm trying to put myself out of a job, essentially, with this course. And it's like by teaching people how to invest for themselves, how to build out their retirement plans, and that's what it does. And the cool thing is like it's what I've used in my own life and been able to get really great results with. But I launched this course last year, and I was like, is this going to work for other people? I don't know. And the best thing like going on right now in my business anyway is like the results that people get. So when I get the messages and it's like, Dan, I just had my first $10,000 month. Dan, I paid off $26,000 in credit card debt. Like, I started a new business, like whatever. Like that is, that's the cool. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah, and then this course is a work in project, like you were talking about before, like the creative process. I just keep pouring into it, make it better. I wasn't ready to launch it when I launched in January, but I launched it, got feedback, make it better, do again, and I want this thing to be like a world-class program. That's what I'm building right now.
I have no doubt it will get there. It will. I have no doubt about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's really fantastic. So if someone wants to know more about that, where would be the best place to go?
Yeah. So danharrisonconsulting.com. Or my Instagram page is a great place too. My handle is just Dan Harrison Consulting. And all my information is there, and I've got resources in there and blog posts, and that's where they can find me.
That's awesome. That is so, so great. And again, I really wish you and send you all the best vibes to keep doing this amazing work that you are doing. I think it is so needed right now. It's always been needed, but I think we're definitely at a substantial crisis right now where we need to have that shift that you've experienced happen on a global scale, where we all focus more on what we can actually contribute rather than competing against each other, trying all to get to that top. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll chat again soon, Yvonne. Thank you so much for inviting me, and that was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Hey, love, did you enjoy this conversation? Then join in at www.yvonnewinkler.com/blog and leave me a comment of what you liked about this episode and why. If this added value to your life, then please share this with all of your friends on social media and hashtag The Freedom Seeker Show. I really appreciate you watching and helping me spread the word. And as a token of my appreciation for sharing this episode, your name will be entered into my monthly gratitude draw for a chance to win something from my favorite product list. So don't forget the hashtag The Freedom Seeker Show. I'll see you next time. Rise, bloom, and radiate.